being a business owner is very different to being a worker or a staff or a team member in a company. There's so much more responsibility. We're not going to be looking at other people and what they're doing. I can see who's looking at my stuff, but I'm not intrigued to go in to see what they're doing. And then when you start to build your own identity, you start to put out content that people think that you won't make. And then they start to follow. Then that's when you know you're the leader in that industry. I think a lot of people who go, how do you not let yourself feel cocky, is to always stay humble, but at the same time, don't self-pity yourself and also become confident what you're doing. You only have to spend $350 on tools that you can use to start your business. And I'm only giving you 6 months. She was setting me up for failure. I know, she told me herself. Little did we know.
Are you curious about how to spend your life doing what you were born to do? The things that truly light you up and come naturally to you? Well, you're listening to the right podcast. I'm Joseph Bobadilla, and I'm a creative business owner running a content creation agency. On the From the Inside Out podcast, we'll meet and interview high performers from all walks of life. If they've got a great story of how they've built something or are simply thriving, doing what comes from the God-given dreams, talents, and gifts that are inside of them, that's who we're going to talk to. So together, let's find out what it takes and the rewards of building your life from the inside out. Bro, I'm glad you finally got to see our office this morning.
Yes, I didn't know it was a church.
What do you think of it?
I thought I was attending service.
Well, it's pretty relevant. I mean, we were just at church 2 days ago.
I know, it feels very different, but...
Can you imagine if our church had stained glass windows?
I think it'll be nice. I think it will be very nice.
Thanks for coming this morning. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you inviting me.
Oh, it's been something that I've been looking forward to. I've been genuinely looking forward to this chat because I feel like you've got a lot of value to share.
Likewise, I feel the same with you too.
But for our audience who's watching probably after Christmas, firstly, Merry Christmas if that's the case, and Happy New Year. And this is my friend and an amazing business person. His name is Antony, and he runs Just Keep It Fresh.
Just keep it fresh.
And I also believe you run Fresh Tinters.
Yes.
And recently I saw Fresh Media's come up.
Fresh media, yes.
And I like on your Instagram bio how it says you're the confident businessman.
That's to make me feel more confident about myself.
It's a very public reinforcement.
To make myself feel more confident.
Well, I looked at it and I thought, man, you're a confident businessman. So I'm keen to hear a lot more about your story today.
Oh, thank you.
But we'll get into all of that. Obviously, people now know that we know each other from church and they know that we both are running businesses. But the person who asked a question of you didn't know anything about you. Mm-hmm. He didn't know who you were, but Tim asked you this question. He said, in your industry, what can you do to show kindness and make the world a better place?
That's a very deep question. I actually haven't really thought of the answer just yet, but...
To give people context, I should have said this before, but Just Keep It Fresh, based out in Acacia Ridge, you're a car detail company.
That's correct, yes.
So I assume you deal with customers every day. So
we like to change the lives of people who work for us and people who also use us as clients. But people who work for us, we because in our industry, we don't really require like a qualification in uni studies or whatnot. So we actually get to see a lot of different people from all walks of life. But being generous, I think a long time ago when I went to church, Brian Houston actually talked about the generosity of the people at church extending to being generous in the world outside of church. That was something that really impacted me, and I felt like being generous and showing generosity to people who work with us and for us is the best form of help in their lives. And same with customers, being generous with customers. A lot of people go, oh, how can you do a certain service at this price point, or chucking something like this for free? It's just being generous.
Have you heard people give you feedback about that?
Multiple times, even my business partners.
What have they said?
At first, I get criticized for it, obviously. Well, because they say, oh, you're too nice to your staff or team, or you're too nice to your customers. And then when they see customers bring other customers in, then they realize, oh, okay, maybe there's a higher value to generosity than there is.
That's a very good outlook. I feel like that value set is really not lacking, but yeah, probably lacking a bit in a lot of the world, and
It is true, yeah.
comes through in the way that you do your business. So I'm very excited to hear more now about how we got to this point, because you know, everyone's got a story, everyone's got a journey, but yours, I want to go all the way back to, because even for me to learn more about you, back to your childhood. So where were you born? What was the early days of Antony looking like?
I was born in Taiwan, Taipei, as a very small, skinny. A lot of people don't understand. I actually was skinny before. A small, skinny, hyperactive kid running around the streets of Taiwan. That was my childhood. Grow up in a foundation of a very traditional Buddhist family as well.
Right.
Yeah, so it's very different to my life in Australia.
What's that like, for those who don't know?
It depends what type of family you're in, I guess. Whereas my family is very into we will worship anything that will provide you positive finance goals or positive finance results. I don't know if
Yeah, no, I get that. So was that kind of a priority for your family, like financial success? Is that something that drove you?
I think in my dad's kind of generation, it was. Because for those of you who don't know, a lot of people from, 90% of the population from Taiwan actually came from China when they had the Civil War. So when they came to Taiwan, they were all very, very poor. And so they really needed to boom the economy. And that's when a lot of innovation happens. They call Taiwan like at least like one of the 4 countries that was like, they call a dragon economy or something like that. Because they were like doing breakthroughs, technological advancements. And so my father, I think, got into that ball. Well, my grandparents got into that ball game, and my father just helped them boost that a lot more. So we did motherboards. My grandparents' generation opened a company that I wasn't say invented, but they were doing like motherboards for computers, LED lights, and so on. And then my dad got into that game as well very early on.
Were you interested in that?
No, absolutely not.
What were you interested in when you were growing up?
Food.
Yeah.
Food. I wasn't really interested in much, actually, not until I got to Australia.
What did that look like? Because, you know, we were just talking before that you moved to Australia in 2000.
Yes.
So how old were you then?
I was 9 years old.
Yep. And your whole family moved?
My whole family moved to Australia.
Right. So they started this company. Your grandfather started the company, was it? And your dad?
Yeah, my grandmother's brother. So it's like just
Okay, yeah.
It's just Asians got a lot big family.
I get it. So the family started this motherboard business, but then your immediate family moved to Australia. What happened there? Why?
So I think Dad wanted us to have a better life. We saw the economic like turning point. We was peaking, and then after a lot of political standpoints or like I guess political aggressiveness with China, Taiwan, or whatnot, they decided, you know what, we don't think Taiwan's a good place anymore to stay. And so my dad and my mum decided to put me and my sister in Australia. And then my whole life was just dad in Taiwan working for us and mum taking care of us in Australia.
So your dad didn't move with you?
My dad promised my mum to move with us, but it was just not economical because the cost of living in Australia is so much higher than Taiwan. So he had to just keep working his butt off for us every day.
Wow, that's unreal.
Yeah.
So what was life like then? Your mum and yourself and your...
I really didn't understand how my mum felt until I graduated from high school, because, when I was young, I'm sure like when we're kids, we don't really look at how our parents are coping with their lives while we're growing up. But after high school, I realized that, man, my mom's dad, my grandfather, was in the Navy. And she used to tell me how many times she saw her dad, and apparently she was really upset about it. She saw him 3 to 4 times a year only. But she only saw my dad once a year. It was very tough for my mom.
And they stayed together?
My mom and dad still together.
That's unbelievable.
It
That's
is
awesome.
And that's what I love about my parents. Like, they fight, they argue like most parents do, but even with this, they're still together. It's the value of marriage is very different.
Is your dad in Australia now, or is he?
No, he's still working.
Wow. Okay.
He's a workaholic.
Well, that's crazy. I appreciate you telling me about that. So, then while your dad was in Taiwan and you're growing up, you mentioned just before that your perspective changed on the interests you had. You had more interest coming to Australia. So,
Yeah.
what did you start to enjoy when you moved here?
Well, first, milk. Milk in Taiwan versus milk in Australia. Sorry. I'm giving you the weirdest answer. I'm sorry.
Our producer's gone in the back there.
Milk. So, milk in Australia tastes so much better than milk in Taiwan. So again, food, right?
Yep.
But another thing is Christianity. I didn't know what Christianity was until I moved to Australia. And soon as we got here, we met some really nice people who helped my mom through her pain of being lonely and looking after us it almost felt like she's a single parent, because no one really was there for her anyway. And she had to navigate her life here, not knowing English. I remember her vaguely going to TAFE to study English because she just didn't know how to speak English. And the only word I knew, because my mom taught me, and she had bad English at the time, if you ever feel like you need to go, just say toilet. Toilet. So that was the only word. It was like that I was taught as a kid.
What?
Just go toilet. Miss, toilet.
So how did conversations go in school and everything? Did you learn pretty quickly?
I learned quickly. Well, kids learn quickly. I learned really quickly.
You didn't start by introducing yourself. Toilet.
Antony.
Anthony. Toilet.
Toilet. Now. Where? Very broken.
Oh, that's funny. So you grew up in, was it Brisbane, or did you live somewhere else?
My whole life, Brisbane, yeah.
Okay. Where'd you go to school?
I went to St. Peter's when I was, and I remember having to change schools because I got bullied there.
Shout out to the bullies.
Shout out to the bullies. We're friends now, so don't worry. And then my dad really, really wanted me to go to grammar. So I got into grammar, which is awesome. Great school.
Awesome. Well done on your parents for doing that, hey, for a start. But
I'm really proud of them. Yep.
when you got to this kind of high school age,
Yeah.
do you feel like you had any more interests, or did you feel like you knew what you wanted to do when you finished school?
Not particularly. My dad always wanted me to work with him or for him. Like there was like a path pre-chosen for me as a kid, because he's like, I invested so much money. Like grammar wasn't cheap. He would pay 20 something grand, nearly 30 grand a year to put me in that school. And his whole entire dream was, I want my kids to take over my company because I built this company for so long, but I was just not interested in doing motherboards or, light bars or whatnot. And I told him that when I was in grade 12, I said, that's not what I want to do. And he asked me, what do you want to do? And I said, I really don't know, but it's just not that.
So what happened after year 12?
What happened after year 12 was, okay, I think I'll start with year 10 first. Year 10 was when I realized I suffer from ADD and Asperger's syndrome. So hence I had bullies before because I'll get really awkward sometimes, like very awkward, because I didn't know how to socially interact with people. And I actually remember having to go to there's a program called DORE, DORE, where they have to teach us how to do exercises to like reroute our neural like paths or something to be normal. I went to that program for one whole entire year, and it just didn't help. So my mom like prayed for me insanely, just I hope my kid is normal. I hope my kid's normal. And I've been working on trying to talk to people ever since grade 10, try to make more friends, to interact with them more, especially Australians, so that I can become a better speaker, become a better, less awkward, I guess, in situations. After grade 12, when I graduated, I landed a job at Telstra. And with their coaching in sales techniques and so on, I really started to enjoy doing sales. I really enjoyed talking to people and getting to know people and selling them something that they like and they need and they want. And that started my whole entire, I guess, career path of sales.
So your whole career up till now has been in sales roles.
Yes.
What was the most enjoyable thing about it? Was it the talking to people?
It's getting to know people. Even Telstra was quite traditional with their sales process. It wasn't until I worked at Tesla. So after Telstra, I worked at Telstra for 4.5 to 5 years. And then I got into Tesla. So I worked at Tesla Inc. for 2 and a bit years. Tesla actually invited their sales trainers from America to come here to teach us. And it was then that transformed my whole idea of sales. They did like the reverse model of what you normally do at a normal workplace, where instead of categorizing people by what they wear or what they did or whatnot, it's just talk to them first, get to know them, and then you you still have to categorize them, but and then you categorize what type of customer they are. Are they valuable for the company, or are they not valuable for the company, or are they going to be valuable for the company in the future?
Is that kind of identification and categorizing, is that based off personality? Is it based off what did you get taught with that? I don't know if you're allowed to talk about it, but maybe you are.
I am. Okay. Well, when I was in Telstra, they told me the first 5 minutes of you interacting with the customer, you should already know about how many people are in their family, what they do for work, what they're going through in life. That's crazy.
In 5 minutes.
What they're going through in life.
Wow.
What they use most, what's their most preferable type of like technology they use at home, and maybe like where their kids go to school. Like there's like 10, 20 questions or 20 answers that they're asking you to know within that 5 minutes. So you want to quickly get to know a customer within that 5 minutes. And that's crazy, because the more information you get, the better it is for you to sell.
That's so this skill set of sales has just come with you all the way past there to when you started your business, because...
Yes.
Well, before we get to even understanding that, how did Just Keep It Fresh happen? Because it's only been a few years, hasn't it?
It has. I wouldn't say Just Keep It Fresh was something that I originally wanted to do in my life. So the timeline of my career path was, I worked at Telstra for 5 and a bit years as a sales consultant. Then I worked as a senior product specialist for Tesla. And that's when I got most of my sales training from as well, Telstra and Tesla. Then I got invited by Optus to manage their shop in Queen Street Mall. That's when I learned about operations and management as well, and more sales. And then I moved to another company called Broadband Solutions. I was an account executive over there. So account executive is pretty much just an account manager, but I dealt with clients that are like Victorian government or schools or hotels. So very big but very professional clients. And I feel like during this process of my career path, God was molding me for Just Keep It Fresh. But I didn't know that. Then COVID hit. Most of my clients, as I said, it was Victorian government, so on, right? Most of my clients were based in Melbourne at the time when I was working for Broadband Solutions. That was the last job that I had working for someone. And then COVID came, and Melbourne was the first city to shut down and to close their doors on the borders. And I couldn't fly there anymore to meet my clients. I find that 90% of my clients are closed. I can close the sale when I'm there seeing them face to face. It's not I couldn't close them anymore, but my bosses felt like there was no use if I couldn't go there anymore. So they cut down on my hours. And so I said, it's fine. I'll just do something just to get by, because my wife was on maternity leave, so she wasn't getting any money at the time. And Archie, which was my son, he was only like 4 months old. So it was a lot of pressure, and we had mortgages to pay. So it was a lot of pressure on me, but like, you're forced to do that. Like, there's no way that like I would just normally go, hey, let's start my own company. Like, I had to, otherwise there was no money coming in. So I said to my wife, I'm like, hey, I need to do something. And I think I really enjoy cars. Like, you know me, like I used to take you to the car wash and you'll see me wash my car for like 2 hours and you get angry at me. It's because I love cars. I think I could actually do something like that just to get some like pocket money, like just some cash. It'll help us get by, right? And she's like reluctant. She's like, holding my son like as a guilt trip tool. You sure? Like, I don't know. I don't know if maybe. All right. Look, you can start your company. Here's the limit. You're only allowed to spend $350 on tools that you can use to start your business. And I'm only giving you 6 months. She was setting me up for failure. I know, she told me herself. She was setting me up for failure on purpose, so I would just be quiet, say I've done this, move on, and find another job. Little did we know that $350 turned into thousands of dollars just coming in, and I was surprised too. And then, we just went to people's houses with my car at the time. We're just washing people's car in their driveway. People couldn't go out because they're on lockdown. They had nothing to do. They don't know where to spend their money. So I'll just help you waste your money.
That is so cool.
And that's what happened.
Wow. That's so cool. I mean, just hearing that story, I mean, what I heard from that is you had already got all the fundamental skills of business that you needed. You just needed a product.
Yeah. And I didn't know. Until I started the business. Everything that I learned came in handy.
Yeah. And you obviously enjoyed it. Like, you enjoyed cars.
Yes.
And so what was the decision then from when you started doing it by yourself to starting to say, hey, I want to grow this? What happened?
So first week of the business, some of my friends just wanted to try me out, like as friends. They're like, I'll use you. So, and then I used their cars as product pictures and I put them on Facebook ads. And then within a week, I got 15 bookings just through that ad, which was weird. It was just calling customers. Like when they inquired, I called them and I realized that my close rate's like 80%. And then the third week I had 30 bookings. And I called a friend. I'm like, hey, do you want to do this with me? I feel like I can't do this by myself. I need someone else to do it with me. And I'm like, I can actually scale this. If I can scale this and have different routes at different locations, at the time it was mobile, right?
Yeah.
Different routes at different locations. Like, this would be enough for me to just become a full-time job. Because I prayed for God. I said, God, if this really is a job that you want to give me, I want to be able to work only 5 days a week, 9 till 5, just like my other job. Because I have kids. I have to look after my wife. I have to look after my kids. Can you do that for me? And I prayed. And then this came in. And yeah, it was just crazy.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't ask you, but that $350, did you spend it on cleaning tools?
So cleaning tools and pressure washer, all the towels. I still have a picture of it. Like,
that's the best.
In the back of my boot. And I texted my friend, Peter Kwan. You know Peter. he was still working for Optus. I showed him, look at this. And he just also reluctantly, he was like, yay, I hope. Because he was scared. He was like, I don't know what Antony's doing. Like, I think he might mess this up. Like, I don't think he thinks I will mess it up. He probably wasn't too confident what I was doing was going to be, was going to just be like this. So he was like, oh, yay, I hope you do well. Everyone was like, not very confident with what's going on. I wasn't either.
But now you're the confident businessman.
Yes, I have to remind myself I'm a confident businessman.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so between then and now, I mean, 3 years, 4 years, 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
That is rapid scaling. Well done. I think from the outside, well done.
Yeah, it was difficult, but...
So is business the easiest thing you've ever done in your life?
Hell no. I said to my wife, I always say to my friends, I say, if I were to go back to the time of thinking whether I should start the business, not knowing the amount of stuff that I have to go through, I would say I wouldn't do it.
If you knew?
If I knew. Because it put me and my family in a lot of stress. But I'm sure yourself, as a business owner, being a business owner is very different to being a worker or a staff or a team member in a company. There's so much more responsibility. And when you do care about your staff and you want to be generous, you want to be nice and kind, you take on a lot of stuff that you don't normally take. And as Christians, we are educated to do that.
How are you finding that your faith is influencing the way you do your work?
I kind of know that I can't rely solely on myself anymore. So I have to be more faithful to God and knowing that He is the one that provides in the end. Like you get a month where no sales are coming in or no leads are coming in. And then you can't go home and talk to your wife about it because she is going to get concerned about your work. She has 2 kids to look after too, and she has her own stuff to do. You can't tell your staff because if you tell them, they think they probably won't have a job next week. So it's just like, who do you talk to when that happens? And what do? You just rely on God.
Yeah. Do you speak very much about church or faith around work?
Of course I do, yeah. And it's a very sensitive thing because Fair Work, Australia, you're not really allowed to talk about religions or whatnot. But there are times where when I see someone in desperate need, I would ask them outside of work and talk to them about church and Christianity.
One of your staff members, was it?
Yes.
Got baptized the other week?
Yeah, Brad. I needed someone to do what he was doing. He's got 11 years experience in detailing and polishing and whatever we offer. We lost a member, and I was desperately looking for a member. And he just came on Instagram and texted me. He wanted a job. And when he came, I realized that he's going through a tough time. He was couch surfing. He had you normally expect someone who's over 25 to have more than $5 in their bank account. He had nothing. So he was living bank check to bank check. He's got a family in Canada. He's trying to prove to them that he can make it work here and so on. But just really wasn't working out. And I said to him, look, I think you need help, but I'm not the professional to help you. I'm only your boss. But I know a place that can bring peace to your life. And because he was always struggling with negative thoughts and whatnot, and he's constantly stressed out. He wouldn't sleep. He suffers from insomnia. He will just stay awake and think about his whole life and be like, I'm 30. What am I doing here? And I say, look, just give me a chance. I'll take you to a church service. And immediately when he went there, I want to give my life to Jesus.
That's so cool, man.
God gave me not just a business to feed my family, but a business where Christians like ourselves can become role models for people who work for us or work with us, and they go, hey, there's something different about these people. They're so happy all the time, or the joy is like contagious. I want to know where that came from, and I'll be like, yeah, come to Rover Street,
Yeah.
Mount Gravatt.
The more that I lived life, like that didn't click to me, hey, until probably recently, about how people actually have hard lives. And I always used to hear it when I was younger, that the world wants to see and know more about the joy that's in us. I think it's only now, and I don't even have kids yet, so I can't even empathize with some of the challenges that parents have to go through. But now I can start to get a sense of like, life is really hard and people need hope.
Mm-hmm.
And I love what you said about role models, because that's kind of something that fuels me.
Mm-hmm.
Is I believe that we need better and more role models. And to be a role model, you need to have influence of some kind, and people need to be able to look up to you and say, hey, they're doing something cool.
Yeah.
They're doing something good, and they look like they're loving life, and something's different. I feel like you're a really good example of that. So well done.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
One of the things that I'm actually really wanting to ask you as well is because like we serve together at church. So you're not just attending, but like we actually are, singing on platform. And
yeah,
I love you. I asked them to put you in my ear more on Sunday so I could hear you. You got a great range, man.
I just shout. I'm sure you know.
It's great. But yeah, I want to know, how do you feel about the balance in your life between running a business, between having a family, and actually just serving in church? Like, how do you do all that?
Didn't you talk about burning out on one of your
Posts
one day? I should read that too. I was very inspired. Before I went to Hillsong, I went to another church, and I served like crazy. My schedule for church was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Thursday night prayer meeting. Can't eat, you have to fast. Go there at 6, finishes at 9. Friday, have to run cell groups or connect groups, 7 to 9:30. And then Saturday, youth groups from 12:30 or 1 p.m. till like 4 p.m. And then Sundays, which is a big day as well. And I was struggling. And our pastor Nick Karoy actually explains that quite well. He talks about like just coming to church and treating like it's a career, and it really isn't. So I had to change my whole mindset. Just by the way, when I was in my old church, I was serving so much, I hated my religion. I'm sure you kind of.
I can understand.
I hated my religion. I brought my wife to church. I got her baptized at the time, a long time ago. I've never seen her more disgusted with Christianity than my last few years at that church.
Right.
And that was when I had that moment of, what am I doing? What is this for? God didn't just tell you to serve him in his church, but also serve your family. And so I decided I needed to change my life drastically. So coming to Hillsong, I've learned that, hold on a second, we can apply for like days off. That's something very foreign to me. And so when I told Rachel that, because she wouldn't let me serve when I first came to this church.
Okay.
My wife was so scared. She was like, you're going to go back into that career mode where you're working at a church. And she slowly got to see Hillsong is very different. And I was able to choose when I can serve and when I can take time off. And that, I think, is really good. How do I juggle it? Because now my mindset's changed. I think serving at church is not work. It's there to, when I'm serving, I'm worshiping. It doesn't matter if I'm brooming the floor to serve, if I'm in the like cafe making coffee or whatnot. That's every action that I do at church is a form of worship. So if I'm worshiping God, no matter what I'm doing, I'm relaxed. And so I don't think about anything when I'm serving. I just think about God and my relationship with God. And so when I come to church, I'm stress-free. And Rachel knows that because we've had this talk multiple times. We like as a couple, we want to find what is our stress point and how we can relieve stress. Sometimes it could be movie nights, but for me personally, it's serving.
That's really cool. I really, really think that was a valuable piece. Yeah, it's something that, I've been in different cultures with churches, Matt, who's producing, as we've talked a little bit about our backgrounds through the years. And I did come from a bit of I wouldn't say let's just say sometimes it comes up without people talking about it. Like sometimes it just happens that everyone's expected to, that's the culture that becomes that you're kind of expected to do a job pretty much in terms of the hours that get put in. And I feel like that balance is so important because it can burn people out of ministry. And I've seen it. People get hurt through ministry. And I think having a church that has that healthy restorative culture of there is like life is family as well.
Yeah.
And getting those priorities right is so important. So yeah, thanks for sharing that.
No,
Yeah.
Your post was inspiring too because you've been through burnout.
Do you know what's funny about that post? Is you're not the only person. There's other people that have mentioned it to me, and they were on business as well. And the funny thing was, when I wrote that post, Annie, my wife, was trying on some gym tights in like a Lululemon in the city, and I just was leaning up, just waiting for her to get changed. And I was like, I feel like I need to just write something. And I was just literally leaning on the change room, just asking how things are going. I'm like, started typing. I'm like, oh, that's what's on my heart at the moment.
Yeah.
And I feel like so many people identified with that, which
Is
is
it a culture of people not wanting to express themselves when they're burning out because they're afraid that they might look weak?
It's a vulnerable thing, and I still think I still feel for myself. There's moments when I'm getting back into that zone, but having the now understanding of what got me there, and I feel one of the biggest shifts for me literally has been, and I draw this all the way back to when I was saying I like how you've put the confident businessman in your bio, is because I feel like a lot of it is actually my mindset around not just positive things, like positive talk is the result of it, but also that identity of like God. Again, we're talking on a faith level here, that God's created me and created you in His image, perfectly.
Yeah.
And I think there is a balance of being able to talk about it confidently without coming off like it's ego.
That's right.
And I like that you've put that in your bio, because what do you think about that actually? What do you think? I feel like you're about
I was
to say
actually
something.
thinking about that when I was driving here.
Yeah.
The difference between King Saul and King David was that one was humble, King David. The other one, he disguised it as humble, but what it was actually was self-pity. Then humbleness turns into confidence, but self-pity turns into pride.
Correct.
And I think a lot of people who go, how do you not let yourself feel cocky, is to always stay humble, but at the same time, don't self-pity yourself and also become confident what you're doing. When you're confident, it doesn't come across as cocky. Confident is contagious, and it helps bring other people around you up. Whereas cockiness pushes people away because the light is just on yourself.
Wow. Yeah.
Confidence is embracing people around you and growing together. And that's like one of the core values of our business is to be humble and confident at the same time. But that's why I label myself a confident businessman, to always remind myself not to be cocky, not to be proud of myself. Because in an instant, when when the nights where the leads don't come in, there's no phone calls. When there's no sales, who's actually in control? Not you. Yeah.
Can I ask, how does that value play out in your team? Like, what do you look at and go, yep, they were humble but confident? What do you see?
I think it's the way they talk, and how they work as well. Like, there's a lot of people you can interview and you could just tell that they're not genuine, but there are times when you interview people in interviewing for a job for you can tell that they're very genuine people, and you can trust them. And then when you see their work ethic, it's just different. Again, like, we get all walks of people in our workshop. I've seen the bad ones too. I've shared my fair share of getting hurt with people, and helping people that didn't give. I wouldn't want them to give back, but give some sense of appreciation, but instead bite me back. But that's just life. That's just business. And they're always the rare ones. But there's always the ones you can see that the way they do things, I think.
No, I think it's a actually really relevant conversation for me, but for a lot of people, because I feel like some of us walk around and go, we can't take a compliment. Like, if someone says, "Oh, you did a great job," no, they're better. I'm like, nah, and I'm like, there's something like Craig Rochelle said on a podcast once where he said, I'm gonna probably say this wrong, but it's like, either feeling superior or inferior, neither of them glorifies God.
That's good. That's so good.
So, like, thinking that you're better than someone, but also thinking that you're not as good as someone, are both equally bad.
Yeah.
But I feel like that comes back to like that understanding of identity and knowing, like, again, for us, worldview as Christians, we have that faith that it's God in us doing the things, and we always point to Him.
Yeah.
I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, as long as the cause is not for yourself.
Correct.
It's for
Others
God.
Focused to God. Yeah, absolutely. Dude, this has been so cool. I feel like I completely forgot about any of the questions I was going to ask.
I'm sorry to derail you.
No, this is really good. I actually, before I get super sidetracked, I would love to ask you a question, because 3 years now, you've built Just Keep It Fresh. You've got an amazing looking workshop warehouse in Acacia Ridge. You've started Fresh Media, and it looks like the other tinting business as well. What's your views on building multiple businesses?
For a lot of business owners, building multiple businesses is to get more money. Like, if you have one business, for example, it's cashing $1,000 a week. You might be able to build 3 businesses, and you're getting $3,000 a week inside your pocket. That's a lot of, like, mindset that a lot of business owners have. For me, it's literally just to be more, I guess, efficient for my business. Because what's better for me is to have an ecosystem within my business where each department is its own business. For example, if my detailing business consists of detailing, car wrapping, maybe, I'm just giving you an example, tinting, I can then change that business model into this business, tinting becomes its own business, where they have their own staff, and I don't have to worry about that. The wrapping can be its own business, and they can have their own staff and management, and I don't have to worry about that. And all they have to focus is wrapping. They don't have to focus about anything else, just wrapping. And then media, for example, detailing, they focus on that. And if I only just put one sales on each business, then they can run itself. That's my overall goal for my business.
What is the nth degree for you? So what I mean by that is, what's the end game? How far do you want to take it?
So I think it's always good to dream, dream big. My end game is to impact the world with our service. I recently went to a mentoring program. I'm sure I've told you before, Aaron Sensoni. Parts of it, iffy. Some parts of it, what he said was really, really good. I feel like if I can have a business running in the back, getting someone to manage it instead of me, and I can have income, passive income, that allows me the freedom to do a lot more of what I want. And that's my end game. It's just to be able to slowly get my hands off this, and magically, miraculously, hopefully the quality can still stay the same. And while that's giving me passive income, I can then help other people in need. That's always my passion, is to help young kids who are struggling.
Right.
Yeah. That's why I did Hillsong College. I didn't finish it because Baby 2 came out, but I always wanted to help people in the youth, just to help them navigate their ways.
Like in terms of working with youth, or like what does that look like? I'm very curious.
Mentoring them.
Okay.
Mentoring them. I think growing up, I realized I've seen more and more cases of youth members who are not just, when I say youth, like people in the age of 13 to 18, for example.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter their background. Doesn't matter if they're poor. Doesn't matter if they're wealthy. If they have any sort of struggles and they don't find the right people to talk to, that's the make or break moment for their life. And being able to mentor them, being that source of light, to just give them just a small bit of wisdom to help them navigate that path, I think that will help them a lot. It could make the world a much better place. Just, they only need to speak to one wrong person. And they'll definitely not speak to their parents. Even if the parents are with them, they have the most beautiful family. If they have something that they have in their heart that they don't want to talk to their parents about, they will never, ever reach out to their parents, sometimes not even their friends. They just need that one person who's charismatic. Hey, I'll make you feel a lot better. Just try this. Just try it. And they'll take it once, life ruined. But if we can find leaders or people like us who can navigate their way, mentoring them at that early stage of character development or whatnot in their life, I think that can change the city that we're living in, at least, really, really quickly.
100%. I feel like even though your phrasing and your personal mission sounds very specific to how you feel about it, like I share a lot of that thought as well. I really have a passion for the younger generation, those formative years. And I feel for me, formative years also spans into the early young adult years, which is where I feel like I love having those conversations with those ones who've just left school or are leaving or have started uni. I think there's some synergy. We should keep talking.
We should.
About this. I really love that. What do you think, Antony, back in Taiwan, or even think back to when you've moved to Australia?
Yep.
What do you think you would think of what life is like now for you?
I struggled with confidence even as a kid. I was always talked down. I will always talk down. And the reason why is because I was never the smartest kid in class, the brightest. My grades weren't good. So I know where I sit, and my parents made sure I know where I sit with academically and so on. And that's normal because Asian parents, they always compare with other kids. Like, oh, look, he's a doctor. What are you doing? I'm cleaning cars, Mom. Yeah, I would probably say, and my mom said this to me at a very young age. She says, I don't care what you do when you grow up, as long as you don't touch drugs, as long as you don't end up in jail, as long as you have a good ethic, I'm happy with what you do regardless.
Wow.
And my sister always told me, that's because she gave up on you. But for me, I'm like, oh, that's quite touching. I
Definitely.
Yeah. So for me, I just wanted to grow up, and my biggest dream was just be a good dad. That was it. It wasn't a what job, what not. I just grow up, your first goal, find a wife.
Done.
And then be a good dad. That's it. I just want to be a good dad and be a good husband.
feel like you're doing a great job. You're doing a great job.
Trying to juggle, yeah.
But I've loved talking to you about everything so far. It's been really good. And I think, if I was to ask you a final question before we ask you to ask a question of the next guest, I would say, you've had all this experience. You've worked in a number of jobs, and then you've started your own business and you're growing it. What would be the most important piece of advice that you would say to anyone who's trying to do something similar?
Yep.
Or even to yourself when you were younger? What would you say?
Run your own race. That's the biggest thing I would always, encourage people to have a mindset of just running your own race. We grow up in a society where competition and comparison is just like so evident. Like just look at YouTube. Comparison video, iPhone, Samsung, whatnot. Yes, it's informative, it's good. But it gives us a culture of constantly comparing to other people. I used to find myself spending a big chunk of my time going on my Instagram, just keep a fresh page, looking at the stories and seeing who's viewed my story and which detailing company is viewing my story. And I have to go to their stories and check what they're doing and so on. And they're doing the same. We're just digging on each other's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then trying to outdo each other. And then you realize that in Brisbane, that particular region, the content is almost 100% exactly the same. Because no one can think outside the bubble. Everyone's constantly looking at what other people are doing, and it's like that same angle shot of that car. It's that same video. It's that same type of post. It's the same. Look at that beautiful gloss on this car. And then the other company said, look at that brilliant gloss on that car. And then the other one's like, look at the deep shine on this car. And it's just like, what are we doing? And then I remember Peter, because I hired Peter to be my content creator. So he will also get into that mindset. Oh, Antony, did you see what so-and-so did? And then that would ruin my mood for the whole entire day, right? And if you already have so much competition, you've already have so much issues with your business, because running a business ain't easy, why are you putting yourself into a situation where you're troubling yourself even more? So I had a mindset one day when I was in the toilet. I don't want to look at this. I want to just look at other things, and I just want to run my own race. And then from that moment, when I flushed the toilet, out goes the old me.
Wow.
We decided we're not going to be looking at other people and what they're doing. I can see who's looking at my stuff, but I'm not intrigued to go in to see what they're doing, because that's when we find the best, area of creativity. And then when you start to build your own identity, your own creativeness, you start to put out content that people think that you won't make. And then they start to follow. Then that's when you know you're the leader in that industry.
I love your videos, even your personal ones. Like the one you just posted yesterday or this morning.
The Naruto.
the Naruto one with 4 of you. I'm like, that's so clever. I've never seen something like that. And I'm like, does that come from your brain? Or?
Yeah, Asperger's.
It's incredible.
I was just like, what would happen if you had more of me? And then Tuyo's like, what would happen? I'm like, it would be like Naruto. And he's like, let's do a video. I'm like, yeah, sure. And then he was making the video, and halfway through, he's like, I shouldn't have made this comment. It's so hard to make this. It's layering. It's like a less than 10-second video. He spent like 2 hours on it.
It's amazing. Eh?
It's funny though.
Whose car was that?
It's a customer's car. That's why I didn't put it on the professional our business page. The customer's gonna be like,
customer's like, who?
What are you
Why
doing
in my boot?
I said to Tuya, I'm like, We should have taken the number plate off.
Yeah, literally. Just that's not too late. You can just blur it or.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I really appreciate the insights you've shared today. It's been awesome.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate you inviting me.
Have you had any time to think about what you might want to ask the next guest?
Yes, definitely. The next guest, I want you to ask yourself, if you were to talk to yourself 10 years from now about what you're doing now, would you be inspired?
Wow.
Hopefully it's a yes. That's a yes or
and
no.
to expand.
That's a closed question.
No, it's all right. And then they need to expand a little more.
And why?
And what is your dream? But thanks so much again, Anthony. It's been such a fun conversation. And thank you to all of our viewers and listeners. If you've listened so far, I hope that you've enjoyed this valuable content. If you're listening and watching on YouTube, would you please give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment if there's something you enjoyed, and subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a 5-star review and I will personally send you something. No idea what it is, but no one's done it yet. So
Did you say coffee?
A coffee from a cafe. And Anthony, if people wanted to find you, your businesses online, where would they do that?
Instagram or Facebook, just search Just Keep It Fresh and you'll see more of me. Yeah.
They'll love that. We all want to see more of you.
Thank you guys. Thank you,
so
Joseph.
much. Appreciate it.